Hiya folks! This beautiful gem is Boxbox by Waier. You may not be able to tell it at first glance, but this is 3D printed and the quality is just unmatched in my opinion. The glossy sheen, the attention to detail, and the finishes are all just top notch. Included with this puzzle is a microfiber cloth to clean off all the grubby fingerprints that are bound to cover it, which is a nice add-on. Also, this puzzle is heavier than it looks. It's about 3 pounds due to the solid print layers and metal components included. Luke produces puzzles that require finding several tools to maneuver diverse mechanisms, and Boxbox is certainly no exception. Unlike most sequential discovery puzzles, though, you can do many steps in any order you stumble upon them. But of course, there are some things that need to be done in a certain order to proceed with the solve. His puzzles are priced very affordable, the quality is unrivaled, and the solve magical, so if you can ever pick up one of his puzzles, I highly encourage you to do so. The object of this puzzle is to find Bach's music box, which may seem cryptic at first, but once you discover it, it'll be clear you've accomplished the objective. So let's call out some important things about the puzzle that'll be relevant before I show you the solve. So, as you may have noticed already, there's a little pinhole underneath the keys right here. On the bottom of the puzzle, it says Boxbox, and there is a hole in the middle there. We have on the one side a little slot, a little hole with something in the way right there. And that's pretty much it. You can see the hinge on the top panel here, but that's really all that we have to go off of. On the piano itself, and then we have the bench, which on one hand there is this slotted opening here, and on the other end there is another pinhole. So if you're going to go ahead and solve this puzzle, what would you try and do first? If you're like me, you investigated the bench first because it's smaller, there's less going on, and maybe try and unscrew one of the legs. And you can do just that. All 4 of these are detachable, but we only need one leg. This is going to be one of our tools. We'll put that aside for later. So now that we have that, what would you do next? Well, for me, I was interested in the keys. The keys, you can't press them in, you can't lift them up, but if you press the white keys in, that's going to pop out the back panel right here, like so. All right. So you'll see that these keys are all able to be pressed in and they fall back into place as well. But that removed the back panel, as I said before, and what you'll notice are these 6 little pieces. A little bit of movement to them, but spoiler alert, we want to remove all 6 of these pieces or tiles. It doesn't matter which one you remove, that's irrelevant, but you need to remove all 6 to go forward. So we've got that going on. Nothing we can do right now. We do have this one tool, but it's not going to do anything here. If we were to put it underneath, it's being blocked by something. So no action yet. The next thing that I did was I investigated the uprights to the legs here, just to see if they were detachable. And sure enough, yes, they both are as well. The thread is of the same size as the other tool, but we're going to set that aside for later as well. All right, so we're uncovering some tools. We don't have any use for them yet. The last thing that we need to really do to get started with this is investigate the pedals at the bottom here. There are 3 different ones, obviously. You can all press them in. The middle pedal can be pressed in a little bit further than the first and the third, and you can also rotate the middle pedal, but the first and the third do not rotate. So after playing around for a little while, what we can do is we can press in on the outer pedals and then rotate it to lock it in place, like so. So we're going to do that for the first pedal as well, and that allows us to then remove this piece and reveal this abscess in the puzzle. Now when you do that, there is a little pin that comes down that we can retrieve this, and we can also see that there's a square nut held in place right there. So what we can do is we can use the first tool that we retrieved, and now we can insert it in the opening of the O here. And what we can do is we can now remove this square nut that's held in place by a magnet. So I'm just going to unscrew it. And then we can remove yet another tool right here. Okay. If you investigate this opening a bit more, you can see that on the top there's a little path, a little groove for some tool, and then there also appears to be an opening on the right side of this opening. So now we've got some real tools, we can move forward with our solve. So what we're going to use is this little pin, and we're going to press it in the opening right here. which unleashes an Allen wrench. All right, so we have another tool. So if we look at the sides of the piano now, we see that there are several screws on each side. But there is one exception, and that is this piece right here. You can see that the thread is smaller than the other pieces. And the Allen wrench fits perfectly in this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in, and we are going to turn it, and that will start to push out one of the pieces on the other end, as you can see, like so. So we have this long piece. I'll talk more about this in just a moment. But if we go the other way with the Allen wrench, we're also able to remove this piece in as well. Okay, and you'll see that they connect via a magnet and are the perfect length of the puzzle, so it looks like these pieces are permanent fixtures of the puzzle, but they're certainly not. So we've got some more things here at our disposal. So lots going on with this puzzle already, and we haven't even removed any of these pieces yet. But now that we've removed all the tools we need so far, we can start to remove these pieces. The first and the easiest one that I did by far is using the Allen wrench in this little pinhole right here. And that will go ahead and release this tile right here. This is an E for those that are learning their alphabet. And we're just going to put this aside for right now. Again, it doesn't matter which tile you recover, but I do just want to point out that each of these is held in place by a magnet. So each mechanism needs to have some movement to push the magnet out of the corresponding magnet that's holding it in place. The other thing to be aware of is that there's a tiny little pin in each tile. Not relevant right now, but just going to put this aside for later, as well as our E. All right, as I said, that was the easiest by far. You can see the Allen wrench goes all the way through, but it gives you an idea of what you need to do in the puzzle. So the next one that I uncovered was this one right here, the first one. Because as you examine some of these pieces, you'll see that there's this little hole in this cottering pin. And this fits perfectly with that initial pin that we found, like so. What we want to do is we want to put this piece back in so we can thread the pin through this hole and it goes in through the cottering pin. What we're going to do, just to give you that visual cue that you're not going to be able to see, is we are going to have the pin go like this so that we can go down, so we can then position it downwards. We're going to move it further in the puzzle and then push back on it. So it kicks out this piece right here. So we'll put that cottering pin in just the right distance. We'll put the pin in the hole right here. You want to make sure that you don't push it all the way through the piano. You just want it to be held in place. Okay, so we've just moved that pin down. You can probably see, you can see some movement going through that little hole there, but we are going to move it over to the right. And then we are going to turn it clockwise so that pushes out this tile right here. And we now have the letter B and another pin. So put those aside for now. And we've got two. So the next one that I uncovered was this piece right here. I spent a while just investigating these pieces, putting them back in, putting them in a different way, trying to put their try and put them on the other side. Sometimes puzzles like these, if you remove a tool and then put it in a different way, that might release a mechanism or get something to pop out. So that's what I did. So I put this piece back in its place, and I put this one in as well, and just playing around with the Allen wrench, just seeing if that would uncover anything. And as I was just screwing and going back and forth with the Allen wrench, I got to a point where I removed or disconnected this piece right here. And that removes this piece right here. Now, in full transparency, I'm not sure how this mechanism works. When you twist this a certain direction, there is a piece in the back that presses outwards, removing this piece. But again, I'm not entirely convinced I know how this works each time, so it's not always successful for me. If you do happen to know, then please let me know, because I am interested in the comments. But we now have the letter F, so we'll add that, and we'll put the pin aside as well. All right, so we've got the right half solved. Just need to solve the 3 on the left. So the next one that I got was this one right here. Remember earlier on when I said that there was, in the opening here, that there was a little path or a little track underneath this. And we want to use the Allen wrench again. This is by far the most utilized tool that you'll come across, but you can hook this crook underneath it, and what that does is pops out this one right here. So we have another F, and you can see the opening in this slot there of where the Allen wrench comes underneath and pushes out that tile. So we got two Fs. This one has one dot, but we've noticed there's another one with two dots that will be relevant later on, but as we know, we'll remove the pin. So the next one was the second one that we're going to tackle next that I removed. And we're going to go back to the Allen wrench yet again. Remember that initially this was housed, so the end was sticking out here and we pushed it in. But what we're going to do is we're going to put the Allen wrench back into the initial slot, but instead of pushing it inwards, we're going to have it pushed outwards. This isn't the easiest tool to get back into place. We do need to have it face a certain direction to do so. I'm going to use the magnet in this piece to kind of position it to where I want so I can more easily slot it down. Okay, and when we do that, we see that now we have the little nub of that Allen wrench we want to grab onto, because then we can then pull it out a little bit further. And now that we've pushed this all the way through, we can twist the Allen wrench so the corner piece can turn and release this tile. Now for this, although it slides out all the way, you don't need it to go that far out. You need to reposition it so you can get the Allen wrench in place through the mechanism, so that when you do put it in a little bit, you can twist it until it's finally removed. And you'll see that this is how long the Allen wrench should be before you need to twist the final position. There are some clicks. It might be a little finicky sometimes for you to get it out the first time, but you may be able to see the Allen wrench move about. It's not a huge movement to rotate that, but that's what you're going to ultimately do. So we now have the letter D. Remove that pin with the rest and remove the Allen wrench. All right, so we've got the last tile left, and in my opinion, this is the most hardest by far. I spent so long trying to figure out what I need to do to release this tile. There are two things that we haven't used yet, right? We've got the square peg and we have this leg piece. And this square nut, it does go into the hole right here. So there is a recess so that the square nut does fall into place. It does stand upright rather. And you can rotate this around. You'll see that it can slide into the different notches. So it can fall into many different places, essentially. My problem is that I could not get this piece, although it fits in perfectly, and this is what you need to do, I could not thread this piece through the square nut because each time that I went in, it repositioned the nut so it was no longer standing upright. Also, with how this is positioned, it looks to me like the screw here just goes in too high and doesn't meet that nut in the middle. I am able to thread this piece through, because again, the thread is the same size, but wasn't able to get anywhere with this. What I ended up doing, and I know this isn't the design, is I removed the nut and I went back to the trusty Allen wrench. And playing around with this, I was able to find a secondary way to release this tile. I know it's not the intended way. Forgive me for that. If you do know, please let me know in the comments, because I've been racking my brain with this. What we want to do is we want to slide the top part of this internal mech to the left so that the magnet shifts over to the left as well, and we can remove this tile. The way that I did this is by inserting the long end in, pressing down on it, and dragging it forward. And it removed just like that. First time, no camera editing trickery, which I'm amazed that this worked as smoothly as it did, but that's the way that I was able to remove this. Again, I have no idea how else to do it other than what I just did right there. But we have an A, we've got our pin, and we got our keys removed. So I had to go online and look up what to do next, just because I knew that these were related to the keys that are on the keyboard, but how exactly, I had no idea. So looking at the keys, and I'll put the diagram on the screen right now for you to be aware of. But one other thing that we need to keep in mind is the pieces that have 1 dot and the pieces that have 2 dots. Certainly the pieces that have 2 dots are going to follow the ones that had 1 dot. So I'm just going to arrange these sequentially first. F, A, B. Okay, and we're going to press in on the keys reflective of the keys that we removed. So the first key is C, so we're going to skip that. Next we have is D, we'll skip that as well. And then we have the E, so we'll push that in. Next we have F, we'll skip that. We'll skip G, it's in the wrong order. But then we have A, so we'll push that in. Then we have B, we'll push that in as well. And then we start over again. So this key is C, which we will skip. D, which we'll press in. We skip E, and we press F in, and we skip A and B. So these are the keys that we want to have pressed in. And when we do that, the lid does not open. The lid is still stuck. So we've got the keys in. What can we do next? What have we not utilized? Well, we've got the 6 pins, and that's what we're going to actually need. If we go back to our bench, we recall that there is a pinhole on one side of it. So we're going to put the 6 pins in place here, and we'll see that the 6th one juts out a little bit, but when we press that in, that releases another smaller Allen wrench. We are going to now use this one underneath the bottom to loosen one of the screws that's holding the lid in place. So now that that's unloosened, I can go back and reset the keys. So when we press the keys back in place, the lid now lifts up and we can remove Bach's music box. And this plays the Badinari, which is the 7th movement from Orchestral Suite number 2 in B minor. I've been playing the overture throughout this video, but switched over to the actual piece that this music box reflects about a minute ago. But this is the music box. That plays the Badinari. So very cool prize. Was not expecting that at all as your final reward for solving the puzzle. So as you see, the journey throughout this puzzle, there is a lot going on, but a lot of cool things. I really hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did, but please help the channel grow if you would. I would appreciate that. Hope you have an excellent day, and until next time.